Hello, dear friends. Welcome back. Find a quiet place, and let us begin a real story about wheels, speed, smoke, and a dream that changed the world. Today, we are going to talk about the origin of the motorcycle. Not the big modern motorcycle we see today, not the loud machine on a wide road, but the very first idea, a bicycle that could move by itself. Imagine the world before motorcycles. The roads were not smooth. Many roads were made of dirt and stones. People traveled by walking, by horse, by carriage, or by bicycle. Life moved slowly. A trip to another town could take a long time. The air was quiet. The sound of a motor was not part of daily life yet. But many inventors were dreaming. They looked at bicycles. They looked at steam engines. They looked at small machines. And they asked one simple question. Could a person ride on two wheels without pushing the pedals? Could a machine do the hard work? Could a bicycle move by power? This question sounds simple now, but in the 1800s, it was a brave question. It was a strange question. Many people laughed at new machines. They said machines were dangerous. They said horses were better. But inventors did not stop. They kept working. They kept testing. They kept dreaming. The story begins with the bicycle. In the early 1800s, bicycles were new and exciting. They were not like bicycles today. Some had very big front wheels. Some had wooden wheels. Some had iron parts. They were hard to ride. They shook on rough roads. People even called some of them bone shakers because the ride was so uncomfortable. Still, people loved them. A bicycle gave a person freedom. A young man could ride farther than he could walk. A worker could travel faster. A curious person could see new roads. The bicycle was simple, but it gave people a new feeling. The feeling of moving by their own choice. Then came another powerful idea, the engine. Steam engines were already changing the world. Steam trains pulled heavy cars across long distances. Steamboats moved on rivers and oceans. Factories used steam power to make goods. Steam was strong. It could do work that animals and people could not do alone. So some inventors thought, why not put a small steam engine on a bicycle? Why not make a bicycle move with steam? It was not easy. A steam engine needed water, fire, heat, and pressure. It could be heavy. It could be dangerous. But it was possible. And this was the beginning of the motorcycle story. One early name in this story is Sylvester Roper. He was an American inventor from Massachusetts. In the late 1860s, he built a steam-powered two-wheeled machine. It looked like a bicycle, but it had a small steam engine. The Smithsonian says his steam velocipede was built and shown in the late 1860s, and it is believed to be the oldest existing American motorcycle. Can you imagine seeing it for the first time? A man sits on a strange bicycle. There is no horse in front. There is no one pushing from behind. Then the machine begins to move. A little smoke rises. The wheels turn. People stop and stare. Some people laugh. Some people feel afraid. Some people feel wonder. Roper's machine was clever. The seat also held water for the boiler. A boiler is a place where water becomes steam. A small fire heated the water. The steam moved the engine. The engine moved the wheel. Even the handlebar had an interesting job. Turning it helped control speed and braking. It was a very early idea, but it showed the future. Across the ocean, in France, another early machine appeared. It was called the Michaud-Perrot steam velocipede. It was also a bicycle with a steam engine. Historians do not all agree about which steam machine came first. Some say Roper, some say Michaud Perrault, some say they came around the same time. This is why the true first motorcycle is not a simple answer. And this makes the story more interesting. The motorcycle was not born in one perfect moment. It was born slowly, in smoke, in noise, in workshops, in small mistakes, in dangerous tests. It was not one idea from one person. It was many ideas coming together. But steam motorcycles had problems. They were heavy. They needed time to heat up. They needed water and fuel. They were not easy for normal people to use. A rider could not simply sit down and ride away. The machine had to be prepared. It had to become hot. It had to build pressure. This made steam power difficult for a small vehicle. Inventors needed something smaller, cleaner, and easier to control. They needed a different kind of engine, and in Germany, two men were working on exactly that. Their names were Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach. Daimler was an engineer. Maybach was a brilliant designer. They were interested in small gasoline engines. Gasoline is a fuel made from oil. Today, it is common, but at that time, it was part of a new world. A gasoline engine could be smaller than a steam engine. It did not need a large boiler. It could start a new age of transport. Daimler and Maybach wanted to make a small engine that could run fast. They did not only want to make a bicycle move. They wanted to show that their engine could power many things: a boat, a carriage, and a small two-wheeled vehicle. The motorcycle was part of a bigger dream. In 1885, they built a strange wooden machine. Its name was the Reitwagen. In German, this means something like riding car. It had two main wheels. It also had small side wheels to help it stay balanced. The frame was made mostly of wood. It did not look smooth or elegant. It looked rough, simple, and brave. But inside this wooden machine was something very important: a gasoline engine. Britannica says that Daimler built the first gasoline engine motorcycle in 1885. Mercedes-Benz also describes the 1885 Daimler riding carriage as an early step into motorized mobility on two wheels. The Reitwagen was not fast by modern standards. It did not roar like a modern motorcycle. It did not shine with chrome. It did not carry a rider across a country. It was small, hard, and basic. But it proved something powerful. A gasoline engine could move a person on a two-wheeled machine. One day, the machine was ready for a test. Daimler's son Paul is often connected with one of the first rides. Imagine him near the workshop. The air is cool. The machine smells of wood, oil, and fuel. His father and Maybach watch carefully. No one truly knows what will happen. Paul climbs on. The machine shakes. The engine coughs. The wheels begin to turn. Slowly, carefully. The first gasoline motorcycle moves forward. It is not a long ride. It is not a race. It is not a beautiful journey through mountains. But it is a beginning. Maybe a neighbor looks out of a window. Maybe a child points and smiles. Maybe someone says, "What is that thing?" Maybe someone else says, "It will never be useful." Many great inventions begin this way, with doubt, with noise, and with one small test. The Reitwagen was not made for comfort. It had wooden parts, iron tires, and almost no softness for the rider. The roads were rough. The ride was hard. It was more like a moving experiment than a real road machine. But experiments matter. They open doors. And this wooden machine opened a very big door. After Daimler and Maybach, the motorcycle did not become popular overnight. People still loved horses. Bicycles were cheaper. Roads were poor. Engines were still difficult. But little by little, inventors improved the idea. They made engines smaller, they made frames stronger, they made tires better, they made brakes safer. The late 1800s were a time of fast change. Factories were growing, cities were growing, people wanted faster travel, newspapers wrote about new machines, crowds came to see motor races and machine shows. The world was waking up to the sound of engines. At first, many motorcycles were really bicycles with small engines added. A person could still see the bicycle shape clearly. The pedals were sometimes still there. The engine sat in the frame. A belt or chain helped turn the wheel. The rider had to know the machine well. It was not easy, but it was exciting. Soon, people began to understand that a motorcycle was not just a bicycle with an engine. It was its own kind of machine. It needed a stronger frame. It needed better control. It needed better fuel systems. It needed a seat that did not punish the rider too much. Every year, the motorcycle became more practical. In Britain, France, Germany, and the United States, small companies began to build motor bicycles. Some companies disappeared quickly. Some became famous. Some men worked in sheds and small workshops. They used tools, fire, metal, and patience. They tried one design, then another. Many failed. A few succeeded. The motorcycle became useful because it was smaller than a car. It used less fuel. It could move through narrow roads. It was cheaper for many people. A worker could ride to a job. A messenger could carry letters faster. A doctor could reach a patient more quickly. A young person could feel the open road. By the early 1900s, motorcycles became more common. They were still not perfect. They broke down often. They needed care. Riders carried tools. They listened to the engine like a doctor listens to a heart. A strange sound could mean trouble. A good rider had to be patient, brave, and practical. But motorcycles also gave people joy. They gave speed. They gave wind. They gave freedom. A rider could leave the noisy city, follow a country road, and feel the world open around them. The road was no longer only for horses and carriages. It was for people with engines too. The motorcycle also changed work. Police officers used them. Postal workers used them. Soldiers used them in wartime. Farmers used them to travel between fields and towns. They became tools, not just toys. They became part of modern life. Of course, the early motorcycle was not safe like many machines today. Roads were rough. Helmets were not common. Brakes were weak. Lights were simple. Riders had to be very careful. But safety improved slowly. Better tires arrived. Better brakes arrived. Better roads arrived. Better rules arrived. The machine grew up with the modern world. It is important to remember something. The origin of the motorcycle has more than one answer. If we mean a two-wheeled machine with any engine, then the steam velocipedes of Roper and Michaud-Perrault are very important. They came before Daimler. They were early motorized two-wheelers. If we mean the first gasoline motorcycle, then Daimler and Maybach's Reitwagen in 1885 is the famous answer. Britannica also notes that the first commercial design was a three-wheeler by Edward Butler in Great Britain in 1884, while Daimler's gasoline motorcycle followed in 1885. So the story is not a straight line. It is more like a road with many turns. Steam machines came first. Gasoline engines came next. Better designs followed. Then factories came. Then riders came. Then the motorcycle became a symbol of travel, work, and freedom. Think again about that first wooden Reitwagen. It was small. It was rough. It had little side wheels. It was not beautiful like a modern motorcycle. But inside, it was a new promise. The promise that a person could sit on a narrow machine and move forward by engine power. That promise became bigger and bigger. It became city motorcycles, farm motorcycles, racing motorcycles, travel motorcycles, small scooters, strong touring bikes, and simple machines for daily life. All of them carry a little piece of the same old dream. The dream is simple. I want to go farther. I want to go faster. I want to feel the road under me. I want the machine to carry me. I want freedom. And this is why the origin of the motorcycle is so interesting. It is not only about metal and engines. It is about human curiosity. A person sees a bicycle and says, "Can it move by itself?" A person sees an engine and says, "Can it become smaller?" A person sees a road and says, "Can I travel farther today?" Every invention begins with a question. Sometimes the first answer is strange. Sometimes it is heavy, noisy, smoky, or hard to use. But the first answer is still important. It gives the next person a place to begin. Roper gave the world a steam-powered dream. Michaud and Perrault helped show another steam path. Butler designed an early motor tricycle. Daimler and Maybach placed a gasoline engine into a riding machine. Then many other inventors improved the idea, one piece at a time. And now, when we see a motorcycle on the road, we can hear more than an engine. We can hear history. We can hear old workshops. We can hear wooden wheels on rough ground. We can hear steam. We can hear the first gasoline engine shaking under a brave rider. We can hear the beginning of a new kind of freedom. The motorcycle was born from the bicycle, but it became something different. It became a machine for people who wanted movement. It became a machine for work, for travel, for sport, and for adventure. It became a small engine with a big story. So next time you see a motorcycle, remember this quiet beginning. Remember the inventors who tested strange machines when the world was not ready. Remember the wooden right wagon. Remember the steam velocipedes. Remember the first riders. They did not know how big their idea would become. They only knew they wanted to move forward. And that is a beautiful lesson. We do not always need to see the whole road. Sometimes we only need to start the engine, hold the handlebar, and move forward slowly, one small distance at a time. Thank you for listening, my friends. I hope this story helped you learn English in a calm and easy way. You did a wonderful job today. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep moving forward. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what real story you want to hear next, and I will be happy to share another gentle journey with you.